Joyce Mason had always been a woman of science. As a renowned cardiologist at the age of 50, she perfectly understood the complexities of the human heart, its ventricles, atria, valves and rhythms. She knew every irregular heartbeat, every murmur, every small variation that might indicate problems. What Joyce had never completely mastered, however, was the other aspect of the heart, the emotional. In the cardiology department of Central Hospital, which she had proudly led for 5 years, her name was synonymous with excellence and dedication. On the walls of her office, diplomas and certificates vied for space with photographs from international conferences and research awards. There were no family photos or personal mementos. Joyce had made her choice a long time ago. On that Thursday morning, while organising the final details before travelling to the National Cardiology Congress, where she would be one of the speakers, Joyce found, hidden among old reports, a photo she had kept for 10 years. In it, a man with a gentle smile and deep brown eyes was discreetly embracing her during a hospital social dinner. Lionel Grimes. For a moment, Joyce allowed herself to remember. She allowed herself to feel again that warmth in her chest that she experienced when he entered the room. She allowed herself to recall the night shifts they shared, the discussions of clinical cases that turned into conversations about life, the hurried coffees taken during surgery breaks. "Dr. Mason, your assistant is on the phone. Something about the slides for the conference," said her secretary, interrupting the rare moment of nostalgia. Joyce quickly put the photograph in the drawer. "Thank you, Karen. I'll take it." The airport was crowded as always. Joyce was waiting to board, observing an elderly couple holding hands on the bench in front of her. The woman rested her head on her husband's shoulder, who was calmly reading a newspaper. There was a comfortable familiarity between them, something Joyce had never truly experienced. She remembered Lionel again, and the night when he had knelt in her apartment with a small velvet box in hand. "You are the person I want to share my life with, Joyce," he had said, his eyes full of hope. Her response was practical, rational, as always. "You know how everyone assumes that a married woman will soon think about having children, or at some point will prioritize family. If I get married, it's like I'm giving up any chance of professional advancement." The sparkle in his eyes had dimmed at that moment. A week later, Lionel had requested a transfer to another hospital. Joyce had chosen her career, as she always had. But sometimes, on lonely nights after exhausting days at work, when she arrived at her spacious empty apartment, she wondered if she had made the right choice. "Flight 547 bound for," announced the PA system, bringing Joyce back to the present moment. The Grand Hotel was in an uproar with the arrival of doctors for the conference. Joyce, after enduring a turbulent flight and a taxi ride with a driver who wouldn't stop talking, arrived exhausted. "Welcome to the Grand Hotel, Dr. Mason," said the receptionist, typing quickly on the computer. It seems we have a small issue with your reservation." Joyce sighed deeply, rubbing her temples. "What kind of issue?" "Your room is not ready yet. There was a delay with the cleaning staff. We apologize for the inconvenience." Looking at the clock, Joyce realized she would only have enough time to freshen up before the opening cocktail of the conference. "How long until it's ready?" "Approximately 2 hours, Dr. Mason. We can store your luggage in the meantime." Joyce handed over her bags and decided to go directly to the hall where the reception was taking place. Maybe she could find a restroom to touch up her makeup and fix her hair. The hall was beautifully decorated and already filled with doctors chatting animatedly, wine glasses in hand. Joyce had barely set foot in the room when she was recognized. "Dr. Mason, what an honor to have you here," said a young cardiologist whose name she couldn't remember. "Your research on artificial heart valves has changed my surgical approach." Soon Joyce was surrounded by a small group of professional admirers. It was always like this, respected, admired, consulted. As she answered technical questions and accepted compliments, her eyes wandered around the room and stopped abruptly. A few meters away, talking with a small group, was Lionel Grimes, older with grey strands at his temples that gave him a distinguished look, but unmistakably him. Joyce's heart raced in a way that would make her recommend an electrocardiogram if she were her patient. For a moment their eyes met. He saw her. There was a brief instant of recognition, and then something more, surprise, perhaps nostalgia, before they both looked away. Throughout the night, Joyce felt Lionel's presence in the room like a magnetic force. Several times she caught herself searching for him with her eyes, only to find him already looking in her direction. Neither of them, however, made any move to approach the other. When the clock struck 9:30, Joyce decided she needed a moment to herself. She excused herself from the group surrounding her and headed to the restroom. Looking at herself in the mirror, she saw a successful woman, impeccably dressed, but with eyes that held a shadow of regret. Upon returning to the room, her heart skipped a beat when she saw Lionel walking towards her. For a moment she thought they would finally talk, but she was quickly intercepted by 3 doctors eager to discuss a case. Over their shoulders she saw Lionel hesitate, give a small resigned smile, and walk away. At 11 o'clock, Joyce decided she had socialized enough. She was exhausted and needed to review her slides for the next day's lecture. She went to the reception, where, despite a few more minutes of some confusion, she finally received the key card to her room. "Suite 507, Dr. Mason. We apologize again for the inconvenience." In the elevator, Joyce leaned against the wall and briefly closed her eyes. The day had been long, and seeing Lionel after so much time had affected her more than she cared to admit. Arriving on the 5th floor, she easily found Suite 507. She swiped the card, the light turned green, and she entered. The room was partially dark, illuminated only by a lamp. Joyce immediately noticed that something was wrong. There was an open suitcase on a stand, men's clothes carefully hung in the half-open closet, and a laptop on the desk. Before she could react, she heard the sound of the electronic lock. The door opened, and a man entered, closing it behind him without noticing her presence. When he turned and saw her, both froze. "Lionel." "Joyce?" he said, surprise evident in his voice. Then a slow smile formed on his lips. "What are you doing here?" "Well, anyway, I've been waiting for you all night, but I guess you're in high demand." Joyce felt her face heat up. "Lionel, I think there was a mistake. The hotel gave me the key card to your room." For a moment, neither of them moved. It was as if time had stopped, suspending them in that unlikely moment. "Typical," Lionel finally said, breaking the silence. "I suppose you don't have a room yet, then?" Joyce shook her head. "Apparently not." An uncomfortable silence settled between them, filled with 10 years of unspoken words. "How are you, Lionel?" Joyce finally asked, her voice softer than she intended. "Good. I head the cardiology department at Memorial Hospital now." He paused. "I heard you took over as chief at Central." "Yes, 5 years ago." More silence. "You changed your hair," he noted. Joyce automatically touched the shorter strands. "More practical." "It looks good on you." Gradually, the conversation flowed into more familiar territory. They talked about medical advances, challenging cases, mutual colleagues. It was as if time had rolled back, except for the deeper lines around his eyes and the grey hairs she didn't have 10 years ago. "We should go to the reception to sort this out," Lionel finally said, glancing at his watch. "It's getting late, and you must be tired." At the reception, the night manager was extremely embarrassed by the mistake. "My deepest apologies, Dr. Mason. We have a room available right now, Suite 512, on the same floor." Lionel insisted on accompanying her to the right room. They walked side by side down the corridor, a silence filled with possibilities between them. When they arrived at the door of Suite 512, Joyce swiped the card and the door opened. She turned to say thank you, but the words that came out of Lionel's mouth caught her off guard. "I still think about us, about what could have been," he confessed, his eyes searching hers. Joyce felt something break inside her, a wall she had carefully built over the years. "I think about it too, Lionel. But it's been a long time. It should remain in the past. A sad smile crossed his face. For me, it doesn't have to stay in the past. It can still be part of the future. You know where to find me if you have something to tell me. With that, he walked away, leaving Joyce at the door of her room, her heart beating in a rhythm that would certainly register irregularities on an electrocardiogram. Joyce slept poorly that night. She dreamed of paths not taken, of different choices. In her dreams, there was a house with large windows, a breakfast table with 2 cups, a garden where she and Lionel grew old together. The morning brought her lecture, the professional reason for her trip. In the large auditorium, Joyce presented with her usual competence the latest results of her research. Her voice was firm, her explanations clear, her slides flawless. But her eyes, from time to time, searched for a specific face in the audience. Lionel was there, in the 3rd row, listening attentively. When she finished a particularly complex point, Joyce saw him nod slightly, as if confirming the quality of her reasoning. That small gesture warmed her inside. After the presentation, she was once again surrounded by professional admirers. She answered questions, accepted invitations for collaborations, and exchanged business cards. From time to time, she saw Lionel on the edge of the group, patiently waiting for his turn, but there was always someone else wanting to talk to her. When finally the last doctor stepped away, Lionel had disappeared. Joyce returned to her room, tired but pleased with her presentation. She sat on the edge of the bed and gazed out the window at the unfamiliar city. She thought of all the cities she had been through, all the conferences, all the lectures, always alone. Suddenly she made a decision. She picked up her phone but realized she didn't have Lionel's number. The only way to talk to him would be to go to his room. Joyce hesitated. What if he had gone out? What if he was busy? What if she was making a mistake? No, the only mistake would be letting this chance slip by again. 10 years were enough time to learn that some opportunities don't come back. With her heart racing, Joyce left her room and walked to suite 507. She stopped in front of the door, took a deep breath and knocked. No one answered. She knocked again, harder. Silence. "May I help you, ma'am?" asked a voice behind her. It was a maid, pushing a cleaning cart. "I'm looking for Dr. Grimm's from room 507. "Oh, he is already checked out. I'm about to clean the room now." Joyce felt as if someone had pulled the ground from under her feet. He's already gone." "Yes, ma'am, about half an hour ago." Lionel had left. Joyce slowly returned to her room, a weight settling in her chest. Once again, she had missed the opportunity. Perhaps it was fate saying that some stories simply weren't meant to be. Days later, Joyce was back to her routine at Central Hospital. Consultations, surgeries, administrative meetings, everything as it had always been. Except now, there was a persistent void she couldn't ignore. Several times she almost called Memorial Hospital to ask for Lionel's contact. Several times she backed out at the last moment. What would she say? That she had changed her mind after 10 years? That maybe, just maybe, there was room in her life for something beyond her career? On a particularly exhausting Thursday, after a complicated 7-hour surgery, Joyce decided she needed some fresh air. She left the hospital earlier than usual, and instead of going home she drove aimlessly. Before she realized it, she was on the highway leading to the neighboring city where the Memorial Hospital was located, where Lionel worked. Joyce hesitated only for a moment before continuing to drive. Minutes later she parked in the large parking lot of the Memorial Hospital. She looked at herself in the rearview mirror, hair tousled by the wind, dark circles from the long surgery, no makeup. This wasn't how she had imagined this moment, but perhaps it was better this way. Authentic. Real. In the hospital lobby she asked for Dr. Grimes's office. She was informed that he was on the 5th floor, cardiology department. The elevator seemed to take an eternity. With each floor it ascended, Joyce's heart beat faster. What was she doing? It was madness. She hadn't planned anything. She had no idea what she would say. On the 5th floor, she followed the signs until she found a door with the name Dr. Lionel Grimes, Director of Cardiology. She stopped in front of it, took a deep breath, and knocked. "Come in," came the familiar voice from the other side. Joyce opened the door. Lionel was sitting behind a desk, focused on some papers. When he looked up and saw her, his face first registered surprise, then confusion, and finally, a slow smile of recognition. "Joyce," he said, standing up. "What are you doing here?" Joyce took a few steps into the room, her heart pounding so hard she was sure he, as a good cardiologist, could hear it. "Yes, Lionel," she said, her voice firmer than she expected. "I say yes to a future with you." For a moment he just looked at her, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Then, slowly, he walked around the table and approached her. "Are you sure?" he asked softly. "Your career has always been so important to you." Joyce smiled, feeling a freedom she hadn't experienced in years. "I found out that it's possible to have both, but even if it wasn't, some things are worth more than titles and professional recognition." Lionel reached out and gently touched her face as if to confirm that she was real. 10 years is a long time, Joyce." "Yes, it is. Enough time to realize that some decisions cannot be made with reason alone." She placed her hand over his. "I'm ready to listen to my heart, and it has always spoken your name, Lionel." When their lips finally met, it was as if time had simultaneously receded and advanced. It was familiar and new at the same time. It was an ending and a beginning. It was the heart finally taking charge. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.